You might even see it going over to the New York Yankees because they're getting into a bit of a desperation mode right now. Juan Soto sweepstakes are heating up. New York Mets, it feels like they're kind of in the lead right now, and the Yankees are sensing that pressure, and they are upping their offer. Now, this is a report from, I believe it was John Heyman coming out of the New York Post that, they are upgrading their initial offer because they are starting to feel that pressure. And like we've said time and time again on this show, on our other show, honestly, everybody's fucking talking about it. You lose Juan Soto, we don't know what you are anymore. We don't know who you are. We don't know how long your window is. The season prior, you won, 82 games without
Something
Juan
like
Soto?
that,
Could you fall all the way back down there? Maybe, right? I don't know who you are and what your identity is anymore and how much time you have left. And they clearly feel the same way because now they're upping that offer and trying their best to compete with Steve Cohen.
Yeah, and you definitely feel the desperation because we talked about this on a previous podcast where Soto was looking for a deal that had opt-outs. And I was kind of thinking, like, well, if that's what's going to push you over the edge, then that's what you do. And apparently this increase in offer includes opt-outs after third or fourth years. So it honestly, like as much as we talked about it, like we don't want to do that because you want to have your guy committed to you. If that's what it takes to get Juan Soto to stay in New York or to come over to your team, then you do it.
Well,
if that's going to be the sweetener.
I think I really like it for New York specifically because you look at them and you look at their window, and their window is right now surrounded by Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole. So they're still going to have those guys. Maybe I was being a little too harsh when I said who's their identity, right, without Juan Soto, because it's still going to be those two guys.
Right.
But those guys are getting older. At some point, Aaron Judge is not going to be hitting close to 60 home runs, and at some point, Garrett Cole is not going to be able to throw 200 innings anymore of quality. That's going to happen. They're in their mid-30s at this point. So if you were to get Juan Soto, and you do sign him to the 12-year, 13-year deal, whatever it is, crazy average annual value, all that, but then you include those opt-outs. Well, for the Yankees, I don't think it's that big of an issue if he was to leave after 3 or 4 years. Like, obviously it would suck, but that to me feels like your window of time to win a World Series.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you should be trying to cash in right now on one of the greatest home run hitters that we've ever seen in our generation and one of the better starting pitchers that we've seen in our generation. 2 surefire Hall of Famers. You want to cash in on that right now. You get 3 or 4 years of Juan Soto. That is going to help you do that. And then after that, if he walks, it's like, okay, now we're starting a new regime, we're starting a new window. Or if he stays, well,
you're part of it.
Now you're part of it.
Yeah, like I really don't think there's many other teams that have a window of Juan Soto's contract other than maybe the LA Dodgers. That's like the only team that has a 10-year window right now. So like honestly, it makes sense for a lot of these teams like New York, like the Blue Jays. I mean, the Blue Jays have a 2-year window, right? Boston Red Sox may have a little bit bigger with Rafael Devers, and they got a couple new guys coming up, young guys like Jarren Duran, but that's going to be about 4 to 5 years.
Well, the thing is, okay, so the thing that I like about this for the Yankees is that, for a lot of other teams, you bring in Juan Soto, and then you bring him in, and you're hoping that you have him for a decade or more, and you try to build around him. And then, if he walks after 3 years, now you're left with, without your superstar, and you're kind of like left without this identity type thing.
Right.
Whereas, like, if he goes to the Yankees, not that, he's not the superstar, but he's still just a complementary piece to the pre-existing superstars,
Right.
And I think that makes it different for me in the sense of, well, we're not actually really building around you.
You're helping.
You are building around what we already have here.
I guess you could say the same thing about Francisco Lindor, different level of player, obviously Aaron Judge, Frankie Lindor, very different players, but two very good players in their own right. You could be like, okay, well, you're adding him into a Frankie Lindor, but that's one less than the 2 that you have over New York.
Yeah, of course. No, I do think, like, again, the New York Mets, for me, they're in a situation where I think, like, they would definitely want to have him. They would want to bring him and have him be their guy, right?
Sure.
Whereas the Yankees already kind of technically have their guys type thing. Not to say that the Mets don't have elite players, but
they don't
I think
have a rotation right now.
that's like, another thing.
We haven't actually. Well, I've heard little nuggets here and there, but I've been mostly hearing, maybe because it's just so drowned out with Soto crap, but like mostly hearing they're all in on Juan Soto. But they really got to go figure out that rotation. If you go get Soto, but you grab middling pitchers, like I don't really know how good you're going to be next year. Lineup will be pretty fun and exciting.
Yeah,
but,
well, granted, to their credit, though, I mean, like, they made it work last year with like Manaya,
Sean Manaea.
like various other kind of, like, mix and match.
Can't even remember
That's the thing, right? Like,
rotation,
they made it work with guys that you don't expect to be that good.
Yeah.
Severino, I believe, is part of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about names that are meh. So, yeah.
I mean, that's why they had such a wild season, too.
Exactly. Now, I do agree with you. Getting a bit more stability in that rotation will be big for them. Will be crucial. I still think that they're going to do it regardless. I still think that Steve Cohen is going to be in on the conversations for like a Jack Flaherty, for a Max Fried, for a Corbin Burns. He will be in on all of that. Getting Juan Soto, though, now really solidifies the identity of the New York Mets for me.
And right now, if you were to bet your life on it, still New York Mets?
Yeah, I mean,
I
do think so. Like, I do think so. I think that Steve Cohen, he's gonna pull out all the stops like he will. Now, I think that Boston's actually kind of sneaky. I mean, like, Boston has been talked about as going all in as well, and I don't want to rule them out. I think actually I like them more than the Blue Jays, and I like them kind of the same amount as I like the Yankees at this point. Like, I think that there's a lot of things going for them that I would like if I was Juan Soto, and I mean, like, there's just, for me, maybe I'm biased, but, like, I think there's something kind of historic about Fenway and about Boston, and again, this is a bias creeping in. I would prefer to be a Boston Red Sox than a New York Yankee.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know if Juan Soto feels any way about that, but that's just how I feel about it.
Right.
But either way, I do like where Boston's at right now. I think they're going to be in the mix till the very end.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I'm sure there's other reasons why, but that's a big reason why apparently the Yankees are upping, because they heard, like, the Red Sox are being very aggressive, and they're like, well, if we already knew the Mets were being aggressive, and they got the Red Sox, well, we're going to come into this.
And I would argue too. I mean, like, this is fucking nightmare fuel for the New York Yankees, because like, think about the top players right here. There's three other top players. One is your Subway Series rivals in the New York Mets.
Oh yeah,
you lose him, to the New York Mets. That is sucks. So goddamn embarrassing. The guy,
it's right across town.
He literally doesn't even have to move.
No,
like, he's not even gonna move where he's living right now. So that's gonna suck. The other two are your division rivals.
Yeah.
So then, it's like you literally take this 9-WAR player and just give 9 wins to the Boston Red Sox or the Toronto Blue Jays. This is nightmare fuel for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, well, and also, like, to add on to that, like, the fact that all those teams are going after, and the Orioles are all going after Max Fried and Corbin Burns, that's a lot of swing in the AL East going in one way or another. Like, this is why I love the offseason, because this offseason, whoever gets who could determine the rest of the season.
Yes,
because they're all divisional teams.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking about a player literally coming from, like, again, a 9-WAR guy going from you to you in the same division, right? Like, that's going to be the difference here. 9 wins is going to be the difference between us making it or not making it.
Yeah, or like Burns going over to, New York or whatever. It might be, Orioles, Yankees. Like, that's another swing there.
That's a massive swing. I mean, I heard actually very, very recently, the Toronto Blue Jays, for instance, they are badly coveting Anthony Santander.
Right.
Now, not a similar, of Juan Soto caliber, but still, you're taking away 44 home runs from the Baltimore Orioles, and you're just putting it on your team. I mean, like, that is a major addition and a major loss for them. So it's almost like when you can sign a guy from your division rival, it's like the cherry on top of already signing him anyways, right?
It's like Snell from the Giants going over the Dodgers.
Yeah,
not like they needed any more.
Not
wins,
like they needed it, but it's like you just, like, straight up stole our guy. You stole our wins. You stole our innings, right? And you just took it for yourself.
Yeah, that's hilarious, man. But yeah, it'll be still interesting to see. Heyman describes right now this process of Soto negotiations as the middle innings. So if you think of it like a baseball game, right now we're in the middle innings of the Juan Soto sweepstakes. You kind of have an idea of how this game has been going to play out the rest of the way, with the Blue Jays, Red Sox, Dodgers, Yankees, and Mets being the 5 teams. And Heyman also says that word emerged on Tuesday that Soto could possibly make his final decision during the winter meetings, which will be December 8th to December 12th.
Yeah,
so
that feels
will be
like
the
the
ninth
time.
inning right there.
That feels like the time. The winter meetings have kind of been the loose deadline as to when he will make his decision, and then I also think at that period of time as well, you're going to see a lot of other guys start to fly off the board. We got our first domino with Blake Snell, and I think that has kind of opened the door a little bit here. Juan Soto is still the big barrier, though, between a lot of the position players going. And I think that you're going to see him go in the winter meetings, and then it's going to be a flurry of moves, during the winter meetings, and then, kind of the weeks following right up until Christmas time where, all the executives go on their Christmas breaks and everything like that. But that kind of like week before Christmas, that's going to be fucking major.
Huge, man. Also, another tidbit. Today's American Thanksgiving, as we see. Apparently, Boris said he said that there's contract offers due on American Thanksgiving. Wow. Boris putting other GMs to work on the holidays.
Put them to work, yeah, dude. That would be... I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? You get a phone, you get a notification about Juan Soto, like, sorry, fam, I gotta dip out here and go handle this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That does suck, obviously,
Yeah, but it's part of it, I guess. It is what it is. But as a fan, I'm excited. I want to be sitting on my couch watching football.
Oh, getting the notification.
Oh, Blue Jays apparently have made the highest offer by Scott Boras.
That would feel very, very good.
I'd be very thankful for that.